good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're watching me from. This is another edition of SOP Online Conversation. Thank you so much for joining me on this conversation. I was saying earlier that this is the 10th conversation for this year. We've come a long way, and I believe that everything we have been talking about, you've been implementing in your parenting journey, and you'll be getting results. So, quickly, today we're going to be having an amazing conversation, and it's going to be about building executive function skills in your child or your children. Now, the truth is that none of us was born into this world with skills. Nobody came into this world carrying skills, communication skills, social skills, relationship skills, any form of skills. We came empty, but we learn the skills intentionally, probably via upbringing through our parents or in school or the environment we live in. So we came empty, but intentionality brings out the skills in us. So we believe that every parent must be intentional in building or bringing out the executive function skills in their children. And when we talk about executive function skills, we're actually looking at skills that helps us in our everyday life, fulfilling our everyday tasks like planning, self-control, organization, you name it. So we're going to be looking into executive function skill today, what it really means, how you can develop it in your children, the positive effects it has in the holistic development of your child. And I'm having an amazing guest today. Quickly, I'm going to read out her profile and I'm going to add her to the script. Now, she's a professional counselor with niche in marriage and family, mental health, and grief counseling. She works with individuals, couples, organizations to gain insight into personal problems and provide successful solutions through pathways of counseling, therapy, and facilitation. She organizes various programs, both online and in person, that fosters human development. She's married with 3 children. So with a resounding clap, you know the way we do it, we drum here. Join me as I welcome to the stream, Ejiro. Welcome, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening,
Good
Ahmed. How are
evening.
you doing?
I'm fine. How's your day, ma'am?
I'm good. It's beautiful to
Okay.
be here this
Welcome,
evening.
welcome, welcome, ma'am. So I'm excited
Thank
to have you
you.
today on today's conversation. And it's an amazing topic we're going to be talking about building executive function skills in your child. So thank you so much, ma'am. So first of all, I'm going to ask you a question that is just maybe not does not align with the topic, first of all. So I'm going to ask you, how has your parenting journey been? What does it be like to be a parent to 3 amazing children?
Forgive me. You said, sorry, I didn't get that well. It's
How's your
cracking.
parenting journey been? What has it been like to be a parent to 3 amazing children?
Okay, as parenting being with 3 children, it's been quite an experience. It's been quite an experience, and just as you were telling everyone, nobody is born with certain skills, including parenting skill. We are not born even with parenting skill. So it's been quite an experience for me, working through with these children from infancy to childhood to teenage, where they are now. Um, Getting to understand their differences, getting to understand their the beauty, their giftings, their individuality, and managing them, actually working as a parent now to manage them the way they are, understand them and parent them differently. So
True.
it's been quite an experience and it's been beautiful.
That's I think that's one uniqueness of parenting. When you have children, every child is unique. So you don't really have one child or 2 children that are the same. And I think that's why we call say parenting is hard work. Because as
Yeah,
a parent, you have to understand the individuality of every one of your child so that
yeah,
you can excuse me, you can relate to them properly. So
yeah,
like we say, the disciplinary measure that works for one child will not work for the next.
yeah.
The love language of one child may be different from the love language of the next. So it's actually hard work. Parenting is hard work. But I believe that for us to be parents, we have the ability to parent right and parent successfully. So thank you, Matt. So quickly, we're just going to go into this conversation for today, building executive function skills. So we'll start from the normally when we teach, we have to start from breaking down the point so that people understand what we're talking about. So first of all, we're going to start with what exactly are executive function skills?
Okay, so executive function skills are a set of skills or mental actions that helps us attend to details. But in this case, that I will say that helps children attend to details, that helps them plan, helps them begin tasks, organize tasks, keep focused on one task at a time, display self-control, and continue to work on a task despite any distraction that may come. And there are about 12 types of these sets of skills. I will run through the 12. I may not give details, but they are quite self-explanatory. So we have self-restraint. We have working memory. Working memory enables the child to be able to hold information, like keeping to rules and instructions and working with goals. Another one is emotion control. Emotion control is an executive function skill. Focus is also an executive function skill, because when a child is not able to put his or her eyes or head down on a task, it becomes a big problem. Task initiation. So is the child able to take up a task, and run with it? Planning and prioritization is an executive function skill. Organization is one. Time management is another. Defining and achieving goals is another. Flexibility, observation, and lastly, stress tolerance. So I will give a simple example. There are quite many, so it looks cumbersome, but there are sets of goals. There are sets of skills. There are sets of skills, not goals. There are sets of skills. There are sets of mental actions. So the way it works is like a choir conductor or an orchestra conductor. Executive function skill helps to coordinate behavior. It helps to coordinate thinking or cognition, and it also helps to coordinate emotional tasks. So for a child to function very well, the child should possess, if not all, quite a number, a very high percentage of executive function skills, because it helps them coordinate life and put their lives together. So that's what executive function skill is all about.
That's a whole lot. I was
Yes,
trying
it
to.
is. It is. Though
And
in some cases they are summarized to maybe 6 or 7 or 3, but I felt it was proper to run through the
yes,
12. Then we could
very.
focus on what is most relevant or most key for every child to have. But it's proper we just run through a range of them.
And everything that you have listed out is what is important for every child to have, because as we're listing it, there are some things that came to mind. Because sometimes you look at some children and you wonder, some children are very disorganized. Some
Yeah.
children find it difficult to focus on certain things. Some children find it difficult with when it comes to time management. Not that they don't have the time to do certain things, but they cannot just manage their time. So most times they always come with the excuses that I don't have time. I don't. And you're wondering, what do you do with your time? So I think running through every one of them is quite important, because it gives the parents that are watching and those that watch, um, a holistic understanding that these things are things that we must intentionally inculcate or develop in our children. Because, like I said earlier, skills, we're not born with skills. Anybody that is skillful in any of this area, it has to do with intentionality, either by upbringing or the person decided to develop these skills intentionally. So going through the entire list is really good for us to be able to understand self-restraint. It's a whole lot. It's a whole lot. And I think parents, we have a whole lot of work to do to build these skills. So we'll just quickly go. I just feel like we should even touch every one of them, but as we go, I think we'll talk about them. So when we talk about executive function skills, is there a time that we should start building these skills in our children? For example, do we have to wait till a child is maybe a toddler? Or once a child is born, you can start building the skills in the child?
Okay. Yeah, my laptop hang as I dey talk to you, so don't be move. Oh God.
Ma, did you get my question?
I want to know how to start, so
Ma, did you get my question?
presentation. And now my laptop won't hang. Mm-hmm.
Ma, can you hear
Okay.
me? Can you hear me, Ma? I think we just lost our guest. I think she's having some network challenges. Can you hear me, Ma?
I can hear you.
Okay. So I was saying that when it comes to executive function skills, is there a particular age that of a child that will say, okay, this child is now ready to learn executive function skills, or for us to begin development of these skills? Or once a child is born, we start the journey of building the skills?
Okay. No child is born with executive function skill. No child is born with it. It is actually developed. So from infancy through early childhood, through teenage and adulthood, executive function skill is developed. And as it is developed, it is also shaped by experiences of the child. So everything that happens to the child per day actually affects this development of the skill. So the kind of support they get as they grow, the kind of experiences they get from parents, the kind of experiences they get from school, all of those experiences are an accumulation of the development. So no child naturally comes with it per se, but whatever they have come with is developed to be able to function as a child and as an adult. And they go from stage to stage. So there are some function skills that an infant would have that you do not expect at that same level for a teenage. So usually, as the child develops, the ability to plan and organize and prioritize increases depending on the functions that the child is exposed to, depending on the experiences, depending on the kind of support and exposure that the child has. So the child gets better. Also depending on probably the child's cognition and developmental stage and process and speed. It will also affect, but it is something that is developed with time from
Okay.
infancy to adulthood.
Okay, so it's actually a journey. So you
Yes.
grow and you develop and you improve on it. Okay, okay, okay. So how does executive function skills, how does it really affect the life of a child, the academics, the social relationship? If it's actually so important, role does it play in a child attaining success in academics, social relationship, in their life
Sorry,
in
I
general?
can't get you. It's breaking.
Okay, if executive function skills are so important, what role does it actually play in the success of a child academically, in their social relationship, and in their entire life as a whole?
You said, what goal does it play?
What
Like,
role?
okay,
Role
what
does it play?
role? Okay,
Yes.
yes. Now, in functioning as a human being, it has cognitive, behavioral, and social roles. When a child has proper functioning skill, the child is kind of prepared for life. Because if you can plan, if you can manage your time, if you can organize yourself, if you can prioritize, if you can retain in your brain, if you can control your emotions, it projects you as a balanced person. So your entire functioning in life is actually seated on your executive function skill. If you want to work, if you want to succeed as a student, it is seated on your executive function skill, because you should be able to have a working memory as a student. You should be able to organize your life as a student. In terms of social relations, you should be able to control your emotions. As a student, you also should be able to focus and stay on a task. So you are not in class and 40 minutes is too long for you to learn. You should be able to stay on a learning process, a learning time frame, without being distracted. In terms of behavior, you also need executive function skills. You need it because you should be able to behave properly. You should be flexible. You should be able to tolerate stress. You shouldn't break down at every point. You should be able to manage your emotions. You should be able to observe. You should be flexible. You should be adaptive. So all of these things I am mentioning, they are all executive function skills, and they play a major role in the functionality of a human being, whether behaviorally, whether cognitively, in terms of how a child can think, and emotionally. So if you see a balanced child or a balanced adult, then you are seeing someone that has a well-seated executive function skill.
Wow.
Thank you.
The entire functioning in life, our entire functioning in life is seated in our executive function skills. So most of the times when we see, or even as parents, not just the children, when we see that we are lacking in a particular area, it may be a proof or a pointer to the fact that we were not proper, or maybe an executive function skill was not properly developed, harnessed, and improved upon. Now I'm beginning to look like take a retrospect on some children I know that find it difficult to sit, like you said, sit in class for 45 minutes without being agitated. Children cannot just sit, they just want to move around. That's let's leave the temperament issue and the rest. They can't focus on a task. Children cannot prioritize, so they don't know exactly what they should do at a particular time. So it's a pointer to the fact that probably as parents we are not taking out time to focus on developing the executive function skills of our children. And I think, so if I may ask, I'm sure some parents are just hearing about executive function skills today. Some persons may not have heard about it before. So we just groom our children in a particular way. And I think that's why I advocate for the fact that as parents, the world is evolving, parenting is evolving. And one thing that keeps us in check, that keeps us relevant in the parenting journey is to go after knowledge so that we are aware and we don't just take parenting as we parent by default or by the way we were parented by our parents. Because I think some parents will be hearing about executive function skill today. And it's something that is very important. Like you said, the entire functioning of life is seated in our executive function skills. So for children, there are children that has self-esteem issues. There are children that have no confidence. Is there a role that executive function skill plays in the self-esteem of a child, in the confidence of a child? Is there a role the executive function skills play?
Yes, it does. There are roles it plays because every child is a social being. And just like I mentioned, is an executive skill because it helps the children to function. Now, it contributes to the various ways that children navigate their lives. When these skills or these functions are deficient or when they are impaired, individuals may experience, children may experience difficulties in academics, they may experience difficulty in social life, they may also experience difficulties in personal realms, which can negatively impact their self-esteem. So repeated challenges with executive function skills in terms of impairments or deficiency can lead to decreased motivation. It can decrease the motivation of a child. It can reduce the confidence of a child. It can also reduce or result to low self-esteem of a child. So research has also shown that children that have difficulty with executive function skills are likely going to have symptoms of anxiety and depression because these children will not be able to function the way other children function. So they will feel that lack, they will feel that shortage, and it has a way of affecting who they are and their disposition out there. So these difficulties impact academics because, for instance, when a child is deficient in memory, working memory, a child is also deficient in ability to pay attention in class. Of course, the child is not going to do that well. So it's going to affect the child's academics. It's also going to affect a child's work performance. And overall, it is also going to affect a child's social relationship because you need it. Like I said, the functionality of a person sits on executive function skills. So if it is not there, it affects the child's self-esteem because it will be so obvious that this child may not be able to function the way other children functions. And when the child knows that I can't function the way my mates are functioning, of course, the child begins to have self-image problem, self-esteem problem, and low confidence.
So true. So true. So true. Please, if I can see everyone watching, thank you for joining us. If you have questions, if you have contributions to make, you can drop it on the comment section. We take as much questions as we can. So if you have any question, you can go ahead and drop the questions. Now, there was something you said about working memory. Now, I don't know. Can you throw more light on what it means, working memory? What actually is working memory? Mike, can you hear me? Can
I
you
don't
hear
know
me,
whether
Mike?
it's my network or yours.
Can
It's
you hear
hanging.
me?
Yeah, no,
Can
I
you
can't
hear?
hear you. It's actually hanging.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I think I can hear you now.
Okay, so I was actually asking what exactly is working memory? When you say that executive function skills, it's actually going to help the working memory of a child. What actually is working memory?
Okay, when you talk about working memory, you are talking about, okay, simply put, it also refers to retention memory.
Okay.
So the child is able to receive information, store that information, and be able to work with the information. So, for instance, a very simple example is to give a child an instruction to follow. So, when you give the child an instruction to follow, the child is able to hold that information and at every point in time make reference back in the mind, make reference back in the mind to say, my daddy said I shouldn't keep the cup on this table. So at every point in time the cup is supposed to be on the table, the child remembers. It's like a functional memory, your ability to store and remember. So you see some children, especially these days, we see children that are quite deficient in working memory. They tell you, I forgot. Oh, I didn't remember. Even adults, I don't know whether it's attention span that's an issue, but you see it's becoming very prevalent these days. So you tell a child, but I told you not to put this thing here. And the child can't even remember again. Say, but I told you some minutes ago. Why did you forget? And the child is telling you, oh, I forgot. Sorry, I didn't remember. And the child goes there to remove it. Working memory is basically the ability to be able to hold information and bring it back to play when it is needed.
Okay, okay. Retention memory. As you were talking, it just came to mind that sometimes, especially when you have young children, sometimes when you give them instructions, we find out that sometimes they may not actually remember what you've said. And I remember somebody talking about something like this and said, for example, if you have younger children, even the older ones, you can use it for them. You want to give them instruction, you go down to their level. Like, for
Yeah.
example, my 4-year-old, I go down to her level and try to make eye contact with her. And like, mommy wants you to do this and do this. So baby, take this cup, take it to the kitchen and drop it in the sink. And she's looking at me. Then I tell her, like, what did I say you should do? And she repeats what I said. And it shows to me that she understood and she has taken the instruction. So she actually heard me. Most times as parents, when we give instructions to our children, we think they heard. They did not hear, because probably their mind is somewhere else, or they're just thinking, okay, yes, mommy, or yes, daddy, and they didn't even hear what you said. And most times in communication, we don't even try to like affirm if the child actually got the message we're passing across to them. So they go ahead and probably don't do what was said, or do it haphazardly. And before you know, everybody's complaining, parents are screaming and yelling. So most times I think we need to calm down and communicate properly. I think building working memory of children has to be very intentional. You can get them to repeat things you have said, repeat instructions so that it sticks, so that you are sure they understand what you are saying. It's like when a teacher is teaching children in class. One of the ways to be sure that your students or your learners understand what you are saying is to repeat it yourself and get them to repeat after you. Repetition brings about retaining. So I think we can try it out with our younger children and even the older ones. It will help them remember what they need to do. And let's not just assume that they heard. So I think it helps in a way. But like you have said, building the working memory of our children is very critical, because we really find out in these days that people tend to forget things a lot. A
Yes.
whole lot.
Yeah.
Even parents, we forget things a lot. I don't know. Maybe it can be attributed to the food we're eating these days. I don't understand. Or maybe the environment. But somehow you tend to just forget things. But I think our working memory can be built by us. We can train ourselves, train our mind, train our brain to remember. And one of the ways I think we can do it is by repetition,
Yeah.
constant repetition. I think it
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah.
So I hope
You're
we're
right.
following the line of this conversation. Like I said, you have questions, please drop. Do not hesitate to drop your questions. Now, for parents, as we have children, definitely some of us may have been able to build the executive function skills of our children to some extent. So how can we recognize the strengths and the weaknesses, and what can we do? Now, for example, my child may be strong when it comes to prioritizing and knows exactly what to do, when to do it. My child may now be weak in time management. So is there a way I can be able to maybe identify this weakness and navigate around it to make it a strength? Is there a way I can do this as a parent?
Yes, you can. So the first thing is to know the difference. Okay, do you want me to answer in terms of time management, or you just want me to take the weaknesses and the strengths so
I
that
think
parents can identify?
you can take the
Identify.
weaknesses and the strengths. Then if you can give
Okay,
examples to help us.
good, good. So for you to know, let's start with the positive, which is the strength. So for one to know if a child has executive function skills functioning very well, the child may exhibit or may appear to be very efficient. The child may know how to prioritize. You see some children, they can arrange things, set goals. They'll tell you, I want to do this by this time. I want to do this tomorrow. You see those children, they can adapt. So when situation changes, they don't have issues adapting. They can be adventurous. They want to try things on their own without you even being there to guide them. They think critically. So you see some children at a very young age, the way they think, the way they think. I've had my children at times advise me as a parent on some things. At times I am stuck. I will just you will not imagine that an 8-year-old child can as well actually give you some very good advice. You can call. I've had situations where I call my child at 10, at 11, at 9, like, CEO, I'm quite confused. I don't even know what to do. And you will be amazed. The child just tells me, okay, mommy, what if you do this? Wait, I'm coming. And the child goes somewhere and comes with a tool or something you never knew could be of help to you. The child can think critically. When you see children that can control emotions, they are angry and you tell them they have this outburst, you tell them it's okay. You see that the child just tries to calm down and hold the emotions in and not cause any problem. But when you see things like that, you know that that child has a strengthened, effective executive function skill. You see them follow up on instructions like we were trying to discuss earlier. You tell them to do something, they do it. Though the child factor will still play out. Sorry, the child factor will still play out, but you see them, they will be able to follow instruction, they will be able to stay focused and sustain their attention. So now for children that are weak in executive function skills, parents should look out for things like laziness. There is this laziness and unwillingness or inability to be able to do certain things. You see them, they avoid tasks that require sustained attention. So I've seen children that you expect to do something that will make them stay on a thing. They begin to cry. They cry, they tell you they can't. The task has barely started and they are telling you, I can't stay. But before now, as parents, we may start beating them. But we didn't know that there is something like that, that there could be a deficiency in that child, and the child actually avoid taking up tasks that will make him or her want to sustain attention. The child procrastinates. Junior, pick the cup and mommy, I'm coming. They display low frustration tolerance. They can't tolerate things. So you see them wanting to give up. Oh, mommy, I won't go to school again. I won't go to school tomorrow. Why? The math is too hard. Why? I tried and I could not pull through. I don't want to go to school again. They exhibit low frustration tolerance. They can't tolerate stress and frustration. They are unable to complete tasks. They miss important steps. they are likely to show anger or strong emotions, and those children oftentimes are late. So these are some of the weaknesses and strengths that children can exhibit. So how can parents help them? You said I should say that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, how can parents help them to develop these skills? So we can create, like you said, parents can create habits and routines for children. So by the time you take them through certain routines, they do this thing every time. Like you talked about repetition of tasks. They do this thing every time. They do it at a certain time. Before you know it, it's like a conditioning. So they when that time comes, they know what to do. It's like when you teach a child how to toilet train, when you toilet train a toddler, you realize that a time comes when the child is pressed. The child will start running by herself or himself to go and get the potty, quickly remove the diaper or pants by themselves and sit on the potty. And by extension, they can even beckon on you. They can start calling you or making sounds that will draw your attention to them, so you know that they want to toilet. They want to use toilets. So what that example does to us, or what that example teaches, is that you've been able to create routines and habits that has become automated in the child. So it's now automatic. The child knows automatically that when I feel pressed, I don't wee on my body, I don't poo on my body. Rather, I run straight to the restroom to get my potty. I calm down. They can even bring it to the sitting room or wherever you are. You see them coming with it. They put it down and they sit on it. So that's one. Another thing a parent can do is to create to-do list. Create to-do list with your child. So at times I do that. At times I make my own children do that. I do that also as a parent. So I tell them, you have a lot of tasks. Create a to-do list. Write it down. So you see them writing, I want to wash my plate. I want to do my assignments. And this can actually help for children that have poor working memories. It creates to-do list. This also works for adults. So parents that are listening here can also imbibe such habits even for themselves, to improve themselves. Create a to-do list so that you follow the list. And what that does for you, what your to-do list does for you, is that it can help you also prioritize. It helps you to know what to do first, what to do next, and what is not important for you to keep. Another thing a parent can do is to simplify directions. So you have a lot of tasks that you're giving the child. Yesterday, I needed my son to do some things for me in the kitchen. So after telling him to do 1, 2, 3 things, he came back asking me after some minutes, Mommy, what did you ask me to do? So it's as if the things were too much. So I told him, go and wash the plates. When you finish, come back. So when he finished, he came back. I said, okay, go and peel the onion. When you finish, come back. So he peeled the onion, he came back. After that, he said, what do you want me to do again? I said, okay, go and bring out the blender and blend the tomato. So when you do that, you simplify direction. So you don't make it complex, because these are children. We can break them down, and also we can chunk large tasks. So if you observe, like the example I gave, I wanted him to do something, and I was actually loading him with a lot of things. So when I realized that he was going and coming back, I had to chunk my large tasks into small bits. So I said, go do this, go.
Oh, I think we just lost our guest. I think we just lost our. Hopefully, she should be back. But before she comes back online, I'll just go through some of the things she has said. Now, she said one of the ways to know that your child has the strengths in the executive function skill is the ability of the child to think critically. Most times in this day and time, we find children that cannot think for themselves. And I think as parents, we encourage that because we tend to want to think for our children. Everything they want to do, you want to think for them. We don't really give them the space to be able to solve problems themselves. Your child is in a fix. Let the child think and find a way out of that problem. But most times, as parents, we just quickly run to their aid and just want to do everything for them. We have to raise children that can think. The reason why we have brains is for us to think. So your child has a brain. So allow the child to exercise the brain and to be able to think. It will help them to function properly. I think our guest is back. Okay. Yes, welcome back, ma'am.
Network threw me out.
Yes,
Okay.
so yes. Welcome
So
back.
thank you. So let me continue. Another thing a parent can do or parents can do could also help the child develop this. The parents could create a reward system.
Okay.
So there are times when children are not doing so well, we can do something for them and give them a little gift to like a reinforcement to help them want to be motivated to do more. So we could introduce reward system to help them, to motivate them. We could allow for frequent breaks. So when we have a child that is deficient in attention, we can create for frequent breaks. But so when the child sits for a while, you can actually tell the child to stand up and do something else and go back to the task. But the only danger there is that when you take the child off the primary task that the child is trying to focus on for a break, make sure the break is not more enticing than the actual task, because the willingness to go back and
Will not be there.
focus becomes a problem. The child will want to continue. So the child
Yeah.
is in class and you are saying go for break and play a video game. By the time you take the child back to a mathematics class, the child will not hear you again. The mind will be on the video game. And lastly, another thing parents can also provide supervision and follow up. They can provide supervision and follow up. So you keep on checking, you keep on monitoring, you keep on asking, you keep on reminding, you keep on following up on them. Have you done this? Oh, come on, do this. Did you do that? No, do this. So you follow up. What I asked you to do 30 minutes ago, have you done it? You say, no, yeah, go now and do it. So supervising and follow up will relatively help. So
Thank you so
thank you.
thank you so much. That's a whole lot. That's a whole lot you said. I'm going to highlight on some things. One of the things you said that they pointed to weakness in the executive function skill is laziness. And you said something that most times as parents, when we find our children are in quote lazy, we tend to want to spank, yell, and like throw words. But a negative behavior is always a pointer to a root cause. So if a child displays a behavior that is not acceptable, there's always something underlying that behavior. But I think as parents, we are not calm enough to decipher what actually is the problem. Now, like you said, laziness is a pointer that probably a child is weak in one executive function skill. So a parent that
Yeah.
understands this will not just rush to beat that child or to yell at the child, but to sit and say, okay, what are you deficient in? Let us work on this. And I think one of the reasons why we do conversations or have conversations like this to enlighten parents, the quickest remedy to sorting the negative behavior or weakness of your child is not spanking, is not yelling, is not nagging, is not labeling your child, because those things do not bring results, in quotes. It doesn't handle the root cause of the problem. So if you as a parent that is watching this today, you can now tell that, okay, my child is deficient in what executive function, what is it? And you can attend to that deficiency. Then I like the part where you talked about creating a to-do list. That's one thing I do. I create to-do lists so most times so that I don't forget what I need to do, the important things I need to do in a day. And it helps me to be very efficient in my day, especially when I work with it. And you said something that parents can do that always. One of the greatest ways to raise your children is to model parenting. As a parent, you're a model and you're a mentor. So what you want your children to do, you have to model it. So you can imagine you're trying to teach your child to create a to-do list. Start creating a to-do list for yourself. When your child sees that you do it, it's easy for the child to know, okay, this is the way that I should go myself. So I think everything you have said, Ma, from the creating a to-do list, what's the word? Create routines, habits, simplify instructions, chunk your instructions down, create reward systems, and the rest. But when we're trying to create a reward system, let us not just, most times, ma'am, some children get to the point that if they don't get the rewards, they are not doing anything. If they don't feel there's a reward, they won't do the tax anymore. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there a way to balance it up? That, for example, a child gets so used to reward that if there is nothing being offered, the child doesn't want to do a task.
Well, reward is not an absolute solution for children, because when you sit down and you decide to reward a child for every singular act, it's a red flag, because you are going to be an indulgent parent. You are going to overindulge your child. So that alone is going to be a problem. The children that we have in this generation are already very transactional. So yes, they are very transactional. So they always want to get something. If they are not getting anything, they are not willing to. And as adults, we know that if you must do life and do life successfully, you may not always get something in return.
Sure.
So the earlier we teach these children, reward system is good, but it is not a method that we should use for every part of development of a child. You don't tell your child to do assignments and always want to reward the child for doing assignments. Then you, the parents, you are dysfunctional. Then you are not training properly. Because the truth is that if for any reason the parent is not available, so what happens to the child? The child becomes a misfit. The child becomes maladaptive. The child cannot function because nobody to say, take this. So you will agree with me that we've been in circles
Yes.
where we see children that are, we call them spoiled children because of the attitude they exhibit. Basically because of the way parents have overindulged the children. They have overindulged the children. So a child does something, take. A child does something, take. That is not care. That is not what care is. You are not training. Because whether we like it or not, children will grow into teenagers and grow into adults. As an adult today, who indulges you? Who gives you things? Who gives you reward for the things you do? And yet you need to stay on the task. You need to run with it. You need to start and finish. Whether it is rewarding or not, there are times you need to stay and finish. Who rewards you? So if we as parents and adults are already seeing that this is the way life is, the earlier we raise these children to be self-independent in according to age appropriateness and reduce reward. Yes, we can give there are lots of okay, I give you a very healthy reward system. Your child does very well in school and makes a very good grade. Come on, reward the child. You can buy something for the child and say you did very well. Oh, you made B's all true. You made A all true. So for this thing that you have done, I'm going to buy you that thing that you have been begging me to buy all this while. I'm going to give you that wristwatch for doing this. That's a very healthy reward system. A child takes initiative, for instance. you put something on fire and you left the house, and the child notices that it's about to start burning, and a little child of 6 or 7 goes into the kitchen to take water and smells burnt, the child now decides to say, oh, I know mommy turns this gas to the left, and mommy just drove out. It's like she forgot and decides to use initiative and turn off the gas. And somewhere along the line, you remember that this, oh, something is on the fire, I forgot, and you come back expecting that something would have happened. And your little girl or boy is telling you, mommy, I off the gas, so I turned it off. Fire was coming out, I turned it off. You should reward that kind of attitude. And your reward mustn't be so big. You can get a bottle of Fanta and say, for doing this, I'm going to give you this drink. Take it so that next time you can act on your own initiation. So these are healthy ways of rewarding children, not that you indulge them and you make them become too dependent. I don't know if that explains.
Yes, it does. It does. It does. It really explains it. We have to raise children that are responsible and that are independent. I
Yeah.
think most parents today tend to be, they call it pilot parents, want to do everything for your children, your children are totally dependent on you. And I think it's
Yeah.
one of the reasons most times we find boys that refuse to grow into men in our
Thank you.
society today. So
Yeah.
boys have refused to grow age-wise, chronologically, they are men, but when it comes to behavior and mental capacity, they are boys because parents
Yeah.
have refused to allow independence in their children. Like you said, one of the traits that shows weakness is children fail to complete tasks. And in this day and time, parents are in a hurry to help their children finish their tasks. A
Yeah.
child does not finish an assignment. A parent writes the assignment for the child, and I'm wondering why. The assignment is not for the parents.
Yeah.
Or a child in SS or maybe GS2 is preparing for a test, and the parents cannot even allow this child read on their own. The child has not grown to be independent, to be able to study. I'm not talking about we'll get to support, but the child cannot sit alone, cannot do anything alone. And it looks like it's the mother or the father that is preparing for the exam. And you're wondering, no independence. And is a problem in our society today because when we
Yeah.
raise children like this, they become dependent parents. And they're going to raise the same kind of children. As parents, we will not always be there. Your child will leave your house at a particular age. You cannot follow the child everywhere. And one of the true tests of parenting is what your child becomes or how your child behaves when you are no longer present. It shows if your parenting journey was a success. So, bringing it back to independence, how can we encourage independence as parents while still promoting support? Now, our children need support, but how can we promote independence? And we can still be there to support them because it looks like this generation, nobody wants a child to breathe. Every parent, they are all over you. My child this, my child that. Children can't think for themselves. They're calling mommy, daddy, what do I do? Children in university cannot even make decisions. Simple decision. If mommy is not saying, daddy is not saying, they are stuck. So how can we promote independence in this day and time in the life of our children?
Okay. Promoting independence in children. First of all, it should be age appropriate. So there are if the child is still very young, it will also affect the level of responsibility you are exposing the child to. But promoting independence for children is to engage them in task performance and allow them, engage them in task performance, allow them, you dissociate from the task, allow the child to fail, allow the child to deploy critical thinking in solving a problem, allow the child to do the needful. You shouldn't be afraid of the child making mistakes. No, that is why the child is still a child. And what definition do you to your child when your child doesn't pass or fails a task. By the time you let your child know, as an adult, I got another definition for failure. And the person said failure means that a child has not mastered. Failure means that a person has not mastered a task. So if you can master a task, there is likelihood that failure will be reduced. So if parents want to promote independence, allow them. Tell them to go and do a certain thing and leave them. So let me give a critical example. How I taught my children to be able to walk into, now as teenagers, they can walk into a shopping mall and buy things and come out. I can give them my card. I will be in the car. They will go. They have their list. They will buy. They will pay. They will come out with almost no error now as teenagers. But how did it start? So at age 6, age 7, at times I walk with them to a shop. I stop by the shop, not a mall, gets me, a normal small shop along the road. I stop at the front of the shop and I'll give the child 500 naira or 1,000 naira, not too much. The child is probably primary 5, primary 4, and I'll tell the child, hold this 1,000 naira, go there and greet the auntie. Tell her, good afternoon, auntie. I want to buy a bottle of plastic Sprite. Give the auntie the money. Ask the auntie how much. Give the auntie the money. So they will come down, they will get there, they will see people standing. They will stand. I will be patient. I'll be watching them. I'm sitting in the car. I'm seeing them. They will wait. At times, some will try. You know, like I said at the beginning that you have, when you asked me how I parent, and I said the children have different attitudes. So you see the one that is gentle, ready to wait for everybody to finish buying before he or she goes to ask. You will see the one that will brush through everybody that he or she has met there and find her way or his way to the front and beckon on the person selling. Auntie, 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 even when others are there, and say, I want to buy a bottle of Sprite, and give the auntie the money. The auntie gives them the bottle of Sprite. Interestingly, as children that they are, the child comes back to me with the bottle of Sprite without collecting change. And say, Mommy, take your Sprite, let's go. And I'll ask the child, how much did you buy? And the child will tell me, Mommy, oh, I did not ask. I say, so go back and ask. As a child, we will go back and ask, Auntie, how much is it? The auntie says it's 300. Maybe the person is quickly attending to somebody. The child comes back to tell me, Mommy, 300. Can we go? I said, no, we can't go. How much did I give you? You say 100, 1,000 naira, Mommy. Okay, 1,000 naira minus 300. At times, the child is stuck. And I remember doing this. I will tell them 100 minus 30. So the child will keep quiet for a while and think. I'm patient too because I'm training. Yes. I will wait. They will, at times you see them using their finger to count. You see them trying to do 7 minus 10 minus 3. You know, now breaking it from 1,000 to 100 to 10. And later adding the zeros on top. These children are taught this simple arithmetic in school. So they will use their hands to count. I'll be patient. And they tell me, Mommy, it's 70. I say, 70? Is it 100 naira I gave you? They say, oh, no, Mommy, sorry, wait. They will think. You are deploying critical thinking. You are deploying working memory. Because there is a skill that was taught in class. And later they say, oh, Mommy, I've gotten it is 700. Mommy, 700, is it correct? I say, yes. So go back and collect 700 naira from the auntie. They go and they come back with the 700. When this happens twice, thrice, it becomes a routine, it becomes a habit, and it becomes automated. So by the time I say take 1,500, go and buy me a spaghetti of 1,300, the child comes back at age 10 with my change of 200 naira because it's now automated. So this is one way to release children into independence. Remember, when the child came back, I did not insult, I did not
Yes.
shout. The
Yes.
child told me 300. I said, where is change? He went back. Oh, auntie, how much? And came back and all of that. So sorry, let me just use this to buttress an example that something I wrote down as I was preparing about roles of parental modeling. So I said something like this. I talked about practicing constructive criticism. So when you practice constructive criticism as a parent, you don't just nail on the spot. I know this is not easy. At times we default as parents. At times we forget. We lash, then we remember. But we are human beings, because like you said, a lot of us didn't know there was something called executive function
Yes.
skills. So we are all reparenting ourselves. We're not parented this way, most of us. So practicing constructive criticism, you praise the child first for the acts, then you point out the mistake. Then when you point out the mistake, then you correct. So, oh, you've brought the Sprite, thank you. The mistake you have made is that you did not ask the price and you did not collect the change. So now the correction is that you go back, ask the price, do the deduction, and get my change. So that's one way to practice, help a child navigate independence or become independent.
Wow. Wow. This conversation is packed. The comments, well, you can't see the comments, but the comments have been bubbling with a lot of things. And I'm sure the people that are that are live with us, they don't want you to go today, but they want you to continue talking. Yes. Thank you so much, my. You have really said a lot. And one thing that struck so much is that we must give room for mistakes. Most times, I think as parents, we don't want our children to make mistakes, and we make mistakes as parents. We must give them room to make mistakes, because in learning, people must definitely experience failure once in a while. And training takes patience. The story you just gave, I can imagine, I'm just putting the scenario. When they came back without the change, the first thing that a regular parent would do is like, what is wrong with you? You went to buy Fanta, you did not ask how much, you didn't come back with change. That's what a regular parent would do. But as we begin to get enlightened and trained, our perception to things change, the way we react as parents changes. So it's very important that we should understand that training requires patience, and we must give room for mistakes. When we train people, there's always a point where once in a while they make mistakes. But in that making of mistake, they grow and they improve on themselves. Then I will emphasize on what you said, Ma. Practice constructive criticism. That one is so key. Praise first, point out the mistake, then correct. Our guest, I think the network had thrown her away. I'm sure she'll be back so that we can round up this conversation. Practice constructive criticism is so important. And one thing I would like to emphasize is that as parents, please conquer your fear. I believe that one of the reasons why we don't allow our children to be independent because we're afraid. Some of us cannot even allow our teenagers step out of our houses to even go to the shop in front of us to buy anything. We are so scared. We can't allow our children step out of just to go to the front shop to buy something. But the truth is that you cannot promote independence when you cage your children in the house. Now, I know there are a lot of security issues and the rest, but we need to be able to guide our children and groom them to be independent, because they will not remain in that house forever.
That's
So when
true.
they're out there in the world, how will they cope? We need to create in them and build in them coping mechanisms. This executive functions, that's what will make them strive in this day and time. So as parents, remember, training requires patience. Allow room for mistakes. Practice constructive criticisms. Manage your fear. Allow your children to make mistakes and pay the price for their mistakes. In school, I work in a school environment and I see a lot of things. Sometimes children make mistakes and you find out that maybe a teacher needs to correct the child and do the rest. And a parent comes to and starts yelling and shouting. And I'm like, what happens? A child will make mistakes and a child should face the consequences sometimes for their actions. Most times as parents, we should not be always be bailout parents. You want to bail out your child from the mistakes they made. You want to bail out your child from the wrong they've done. They should learn to be responsible and face the consequences for their actions. It's part of building independence. I hope we're following this conversation. This conversation is like, but we have to end the conversation because we've already exceeded our time, and I apologize for that. I really apologize. Ma, thank you so much for this conversation. There are a lot of things we would have talked about, but we need to wrap it up now. So, what I'll finally ask is what is the role of parental modeling when it comes to development of this skill? What is our role as a parent? Do we have a role in modeling these skills for our children to be able to develop these skills?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So I will just give, as we wrap up, I'll give up a few tips on how parents can model, they can role model executive functioning skills in children. One of them is to allow these children's opinion in family decisions. Who says they are too young? I just talked about how my children, as very young children, before now, has bailed me out in so many situations. They can bail you out, actually. They can suggest for you. You think they are not observant. Don't be deceived. Don't say they are too young. They don't know anything. Try having a conversation with them. Oh, the child is just 8. You'll be amazed at the intelligence of your child. So allow their little, I use the word little opinions. Allow their little opinions in family discussions. So when you have family meetings, which are usually encouraged, have family meetings, ask them what their view is. They can suggest one or two things for you. You can involve them in family decisions as well. Let them also join in taking decisions. Okay, mommy, let's do it like this. Once in a while, don't say I'm the parent. How dare you? You are 12 years old. What will make you tell me what to do? No, at times, because you are actually helping them in building the skill of decision making. When you allow them share their opinion, when you allow them also involve in family decisions, they start taking decisions from the home. So taking decisions later out there when they are on their own becomes easy. Another thing parents can do in role modeling, in modeling children executive function skill, is to exhibit by themselves executive function skills. So any parent that is listening to us that is also deficient in executive function skill should first of all reparent themselves. If you can reparent yourself by developing executive function skills, it becomes easy to teach the children, because there is something in psychology that we call social learning theory. So what social learning theory does is that the theory explains how children learn from imitating, from observing, from actually role modeling. So if you like you said, Ahmed, that you do a to-do list every day, I think there is hardly a day I don't do a to-do list, because you will just end up in a busy world running up and down and you did not achieve anything that day. I have a to-do list, including this program was part of my to-do list for today, that I have an online program by 7 p.m. So it is after now I will tick my list and find out if there was anything I left out. So if as a parent you exhibit executive function skills, it is easy for these children to watch you and also learn how to do it. Another way, I already mentioned that practice constructive criticism. You praise, you point out the mistake, then you correct, and try to stick to your family rules about behaviors. So if you have a rule concerning behavior in your family, please, you, the parent, also stick with the rule so that it is easy for these children to also learn how to follow rules. So, daddy is doing it and they are seeing it. Mommy is doing it and they are seeing it. So, it is easy for them to replicate. It is often said that
Okay, I think our guest is having some network issues. I pray she'll be back so she can finish these tips for us. Yes, I can see a lot of comments on the comment section. I think this should be one of our longest conversations for this year. We've had some, but I think it should be one of them. And I really apologize for us exceeding our time. I'm hopeful she'll be back so that she can complete the tips she was actually giving us. Just to reiterate them, allow your children give their opinions in decision making and discussions in family meetings. Emphasis: every family should have family meetings. What do you do in family meetings? You review what has happened in the family, the decisions you have made previously, how far you have fared, your family vision. Are you in line with your family vision? Are you in line with your family core values? Are there issues in the home? What is the goal you have for that month? How did you fare in the previous month's goal? So every family can have a family meeting. It can be once every month, maybe the last weekend of the month you decide, but it's very critical. And you allow your children have opinions, they'll air their opinions in such meetings. Another thing she said is that as parents, you must exhibit parent executive function skills yourself. So if you are lacking in one of these executive functions, then probably you're deficient in focusing, you're deficient in time management skills, you're deficient in prioritizing, you're deficient in one of these skills, be it in planning, in organization. You can reparent yourself. Every skill can be learned. Every skill can be learned. You can learn any skill. When you decide on it, you put your mind to it, you give the time, you give the energy, you're consistent, you can learn these skills. So reparent yourself. And as you begin to exhibit these skills, your children, by observation, by imitation, start carrying out these skills themselves. Then she said also practice constructive criticism. She has said that before. Praise, point out the mistake, then you correct. Then also try to stick to your family rules. Most times as parents, we are above the law. In your home, you cannot be above the law. Every law and rule guiding your home includes you. You cannot set a rule and you are outside the rule. It's not a good way to parent. You can't tell your children that during dinner or when we take our food, there are no gadgets. And you as a parent, you are there with your gadgets, maybe going through social media and the rest. You are not parenting well. You are not above the law. Every law instituted in your home, is binding on you as a parent. So as parents, we must learn to stick to the rules and the laws in our home. You are not outside the law. You are not the one that makes the law and you don't do the law. So she's back. I think quickly we're going to wrap up this conversation. Welcome back, ma'am. Can you hear me, ma'am?
oh, yes, I can hear you. So I was just
Okay.
trying to say children learn from what they see. Just something like what you were saying. So you should be able to do it and expect them to do what you are doing.
Okay,
I
ma'am. There's
think
a
there is a
question.
question on your chat, on the chat.
Yes, there's a question. I think quickly we need to look at that question. Say, please, ma, how do we manage or balance comparison among children?
Okay, is it comparison between the children or comparison from a parent between children? Okay, let me take it from a parental part. How does a parent balance comparison? No parent should compare. Though at times we may make the mistake of comparing to say, did you not see that this person did that or that person did that? The best way to balance it is just understanding what we have done today. If you understand that children have different executive function skill, all of them are not developed equally for all the children. Children also have learning differences. Children have learning difficulties. Children also have different ways that they learn and they engage. So if as a parent, even children have different giftings. So if as a parent, you as a parent understand that children develop differently, they learn differently, they have different functional, different executive function skills, even when they have the same executive function skills, it may be at different levels. So a child may be a very focused child and another child is an average focused child. So when you as a parent understand these things, you parent them as they are. You parent them as they are. I believe programs like this, parenting schools like this, when we are available to attend them from time to time, we get to learn a lot, because there are a lot of parenting courses that are done out there. If we have opportunity to leverage on programs like this that are free, it is also very key that we attend, so that as parents we sharpen our skills and get to learn some of these things using this kind of leverage, because you may now have to pay a professional to now teach you, or a coach to put you through how to learn these things. So when we come to places like this, ask your questions, grab any knowledge you can grab. There are differences in developmental processes of children. There are different cognitive developments for children. They are not all at the same level. The intelligence level for children are not the same. Their social development are not the same. Their emotional development are not the same. Their personalities are different. Their giftings are different. Their learning differences are obvious. So if you know as a parent that these things exist, you wouldn't compare one child with the other, and you will also not tolerate one child comparing his or herself with the other child. Every child is distinct, every child is discrete, every child is unique, and they are all gifted in their own rights. They are good. A child may be a very good organizer and finds it difficult to adapt, and you have another child that in this economy is ready to manage with you. You are telling the child, okay, will you be ready to take, oh, there is no Milo, there is no milk, will you take only Milo and warm water with your bread? That child is willing to adapt. That child tells you, mommy, no problem, I will drink it like that. And yet you have another child that cannot adapt and disorganizes everywhere, is low or deficient in emotional control. So the child will be angry, cry throughout that day, stress everybody throughout that day. Is that child also bad? No, the child may be able to organize properly, but deficient in emotional control. The other one may not be able to organize properly, but very efficient in adaptability. So I think that answers it, understanding the differences in the children.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I cannot say thank you enough. Seriously, I was saying when
You're
you
welcome.
that this should be like the longest conversation we've had this year. Sincerely, I was saying one of the
And it's
longest, but I think
interesting.
it should be the longest, not even one of the longest. I don't think we'll stay to this time. Yes, I don't think we'll stay to this time in any conversation, and people are still there watching. So I believe that they are getting value, as in real value that they can practicalize in their homes. Thank you so much. I am very grateful. I have learned a lot myself. Yes, I have learned a lot. Every day we learn. We improve on our parenting journey. We improve on ourselves. I have learned a lot today. So, I would say, give us your last words. It's not last words because who
Yeah.
knows? We're going to bring you back here. So, so it's definitely not your last words, but just maybe a general advice to parents or a word of wisdom generally, even as we wrap up right now. Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me, ma'am? Can you hear me, ma'am? The network has to behave
Thank
now.
you.
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Okay, so yes, I can hear you. So final words for this session. Yeah, so yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma. I can hear you, ma.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma. I can hear you, ma. We can.
I can hear you. Okay,
Yes,
so
ma.
final words for this session is that executive function skill, as the word implies executive, is something that we should all take to heart as parents. If you know it, practice it with the skills that we have put out there for you to use to practice. If you do not know it so well, you can listen to this again, you can learn more, and on your own you can develop yourself. And trust me, executive function skill is a seat upon which the behavior, the cognition, and the emotions of a child and an adult eventually rides on. So thank you for your time and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ma. Thank you for giving us time, your time for teaching us from your wealth of knowledge. We have indeed had received value today. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And looking forward to have you again
Thank you.
on SAP Online Conversation.
Thank you.
So, ma, thank you, ma. So it's bye for now, ma. Thank you so much, ma. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, ma. So it has been an amazing conversation today. How many of us have been, what's the word? We received value. Yes, I can see a lot of thank you in the comment section. This has actually been the longest conversation we've had this year, and probably the longest conversation we've had in the history of School of Parenting Online Conversation. I don't think we've taken a conversation to this time. In how many years have we done SAP now? Conversation about 3 years. This should be the longest conversation, and it has been packed with information, packed with practical tips that you can use in your home, packed with so much value. Please, all you have heard today, practicalize them. You may not be able to do everything overnight, but you can take one step at a time. Like she said, if you have not, you may have to go back and rewatch this conversation. It's just to come on our SOP page. The conversation is there. And every other conversation we've ever had in the history of SOP Online Conversation, you can find it on our SOP page at School of Parenting SOP. Please do well to practicalize these things, because if you hear and you don't practicalize, it's of no use. So thank you everyone for joining us on this conversation. My greatest appreciation goes to Mrs. Ejiro Eze. You have been a blessing to us today. Thank you everyone for your comments, for your contributions, for your questions. You have been amazing for giving us your time. Please do well to share the gospel of School of Parenting Online Conversation to your family and your friends. We normally have this conversation every last Monday of every month. So the next conversation is in November, the last Monday of November. So do well to follow us so that you can get details of the next conversation. Spread the word to your friends and to your family. Like I will always say, to a child, love is spelled time. As parents, give time to your family. Give time to your children. It is one of the greatest investments you can make in their life, because after you're gone, what is left? The memories you create with them. So do have an amazing night or afternoon or morning, depending on where you're watching me from. And thank you for being here today. If you were not online, then probably we'll just be here by ourselves talking to ourselves. So thank you, everyone. If you have contributions, you have questions, you have insight that will help us further and be better than SOP, School of Parenting generally on the conversation, you can send me a DM on our page. So thank you so much and have a beautiful night. Bye, everyone.